Gotta call up, book. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Together.
And welcome back to the True Patriot Podcast. Folks, you're going to have to excuse me here if a fanboy out from time to time. For those of you around professional fishing or any type of fishing, our guest for this interview needs absolutely zero introduction. You know who the man is. For those of you outside of the fishing industry, you're in for a treat here. We have one of the most successful, most consistent anglers that our generation has seen in the last 30 years, Mr. Mike McClelland. Thank you so very much for joining us here.
Well, thank you, Gene, for having me. Couldn't think of a better day to be doing it. I am actually arrived on site here at Sam Rayburn, and we've got a little cold front. It's a little chilly down here in South Texas right now, so I couldn't think of a better day to be sitting here in the RV doing a podcast with you and not spending time on the water today.
So now I spent 10 years up north in Minnesota. Our definitions of cold might be different. What's cold down there right now? What are things like?
Cold down here is anytime the temperature drops below freezing. They don't see that very often down here. And
that's cold. That's cold.
The air is moist and it just makes it feel that much colder. It was 11 degrees when I left Table Rock Lake yesterday morning to make my way down here. And it feels just as cold at 30 down here in South Texas as it did at 11 in Southwest Missouri for sure.
That humidity, that's definitely an equalizer for sure, especially when you're doing 60 65 across the lake trying to get to your next scan spot there, right?
Exactly. And practice doesn't actually start till Monday, so
gotcha.
I'm going to spend a couple days on Toledo Bend. Next 2 days I'm going to get over to Toledo regardless of how cold it is and see what these Texas bass are doing these days.
Awesome. That is a bucket list location for us. I'm going to have the opportunity April 2 to go down there myself. And so, yeah, I'm going to be watching you guys real close, seeing what happens there. That's exciting. So leading up into this, I mean, you're starting off with the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit on this first one here, but you're also doing the Bass Pro Tour. Before I get into that and start asking you how much iced tea does it take to be able to pull that crazy schedule off? I want to just kind of help out a couple of the viewers out there that maybe are new to this. Mike has been fishing for over 30 plus years professionally, obviously probably been fishing his entire life. According to the MLF site, 8 major wins, 35 top 10s. And folks, here's the staggering one to me as a fellow competitive angler, over 67 top 20s. Now I was doing the math on this. Even in the old days, and I say old days just because, some of our viewers are much younger than I am. Even back in the 90s, you can confirm this for me. What the major circuits there, you guys are fishing, 10, 11 events a year?
In a lot of cases, not nearly that many. I mean, when we first started fishing the invitationals, a lot of times you were only fishing 4 to 6 events a year. I mean, most all of us had full-time jobs.
Yep.
And fishing was just something we were working into our schedules. And so, yeah, for me to have competed now on the professional levels for 20 plus years, I mean, I have been fishing tournaments for over 30 years, but as a full-time touring pro for over 20 years, it's pretty crazy. I actually was just informed the other day that I have actually reached the 300 professional level tournament plateau. Matt Pangrap brought that up to me on another podcast, and
right.
I guess I let that slip by me, but it's excuse me, it's pretty crazy that the ones of us that have stuck with this have spent as many days on the water and fished as many events as we actually have. And I'm actually behind a few guys. There's a few of these guys that have put up a few more numbers than I have.
Well, I'll tell you, in a previous interview I did, we talk about, perception out there on the series of how things are looked at and what's equated to what. And my view of how the landscape lays for you guys is very, very simple in that the tackle warehouse pro circuit and the elites are basically at the same level. And I have always maintained that the Bass Pro Tour is literally, the BPT is like an all-star game every time. You guys are the best of the best, and the stats back it up. If you just went over 300, 67, this is the part I was telling people, said I was so impressed with, top 20s. This is cash and checks. This is going around the country in crazy weather systems, no matter what different types of bodies of water. That represents 67 top 20s over 300. That is almost, you're 22% of the time, man. That is phenomenal, Mike. Those are some fun stats to take a look at. The danger in those are guys like me going, oh, that's what I need to try to achieve. Yeah, no, I don't. We just want to go out there and have a good showing, put 5 in the boat half the time, Yeah,
well, what you just said about the Bass Pro Tour and the all-star field. I mean, in years past, especially when we first did the cup format, you would look at the groups and you would always try to pick a group that you thought was a little bit weaker than the other. And as time has gone on, when you show up to a Bass Pro Tour event, there's no weakness there. I mean, everybody there is the best of the best. They're capable of cashing a check anywhere you put them. And it's really all about just how the week goes for that particular angler. I mean, we're all capable of, I would be astounded to probably know how many tournament wins there are compiled among the group of our anglers. It would be incredible. And you just never even think about the fact that the field isn't that strong, because it's strong from top to bottom.
So this was, I want to say, right when the buyout took place, the merger took place between MLF and FLW. When that took place and the new announcement of the series was coming around, there was, obviously our industry, very traditional, very conservative, don't like change sometimes. And so, sure. Yes, sir. So trying to make that switch over, there was a lot of, emotion and such on social media as it seems to draw out for a lot of people. But there was a meme that a picture that came out, and I want to say it was by the MLF actually put this picture out. I grinned from ear to ear and was like, oh my gosh. And what it was a comparison based on career winnings, career wins. And it showed the competitors, field. It showed all these things in there. It was abruptly taken down because there was a lot of, that's not cool. That's not classy to show that. It's like, but you guys were just the ones claiming that, this or that. I just thought that when I saw that number, you're right. I was staggered. I was like, wow.
And it's pretty cool to look at the merger that did take place. FLW had always done a great job with what they had done. And I mean, just to give Major League Fishing the whole background of what we needed, from the grassroots level all the way to the very tip top of the iceberg being the Bass Pro Tour. I mean, a guy that starts off in weekend series now knows that he can reach that pinnacle. And it's a true qualifying ground all the way from top to bottom. And, that's what makes it so exciting for me, not only being involved on the ownership side to a degree with Major League Fishing, but to be a part of being able to compete in the pro circuit now. I mean, I've always been one that loves to fish a lot of events. I mean, as a professional angler, I mean, it's my title is to fish, and the more events I can fish, the happier I am. And having the opportunity now I'm scheduled to fish 13 tour level events this year between the Bass Pro Tour, the pro circuit, and then the opportunity to qualify for cups and Red Crest and, the title event. It was a great event we had at La Crosse last year. And I'm looking forward to another great year on the pro circuit as well as the Bass Pro Tour.
Well, and it's, I love watching the Bass Pro Tour guys come down to fish with on the same level there, because it just, not only does it help with, the notoriety piece, but it also gives those guys at the pro circuit level a chance to go against the best of the best and highlight their skills, that they show just how good, how deep the talent is in that field. And I mean, it's no joke, man. It's awesome seeing you guys be able to compete, and have the schedules to work for that.
Yeah. And I think that's, what you just said is a big part of it. I mean, if you're going to win an event, you want to win that event fishing against the best of the best. And those guys at the pro circuit level are doing that right now. And, to go compete against that group of anglers, I mean, there are a lot of talented anglers across the board, no matter what circuit you're talking about. There are guys capable of being at any level they want to be. And it's just a matter of where that choice has been made to want to play on which platform you want to play on. And,
sure.
Right now, to me, the Bass Pro Tour, Major League Fishing, we've got so many things going in our favor. We made a big announcement yesterday with the new fantasy fishing, the new Bally's Bet sponsorship. There's just a lot of great things happening within the organization. The TV time has been tremendous. I mean, I know as my career has gone on, my numbers on, TV as far as social media impression, well, not social media impressions, but TV time have skyrocketed, since the inception of the Cups. And it just gives a lot of anglers the opportunity to be viewed and to represent their sponsors in the way that they need to be represented.
Which is really, that gear that drives it, man. That's what we need, when we talk about those things, and this takes us right into you. To me, have always demonstrated and have shown, and watching the Bass Talk Live podcast there, I love the fact that how you talked about that one of the secrets to the long-term success of your sponsorships, these long-term relationships, is that they were founded on relationships. And I've maintained that for quite some time when I talk to younger guys that are phenomenal anglers, and they talk about wanting to do this, time and time again. And I try to remind them is that these deals don't get done, based on a lot of the things that they think of. It starts with you. People got to know you, and you have had some amazing relationships. Now we got the new one with Andy's out there. I was
super excited.
I was blown away because I visit Lake of the Ozarks every year, and right there in Osage Beach, man, I drive right by it. That thing is lit up like a Grease movie. I mean, it's it has the lights.
The original Andy's location. That is where it all began for Andy's. The year I graduated high school, 1986, I was fishing what was then the Red Man tournament circuit, which was, later FLW weekend series. But I remember, the Andy's location there in Lake of the Ozarks from the year I graduated high school and visiting there, and then living there on Table Rock. They started, expanding into that Springfield, Branson area. Nice. So Andy's to me has just been a mainstay for a lot of years. And to have a childhood friend, our dads were actually in paint business together many, many years ago when we were kids. Nice. To have it come full circle to being able to get in business with him now to represent Andy's, excuse me, it's an awesome opportunity. And the thing about Andy's is it fits so well with our community. I mean, just simply the fact that, Absolutely. Fishing is such a family oriented sport. There's so many professional sports that are individual, players actually, it seems like in the NFL and NBA, a lot of times they're not even with their family through the course of the season. And to be involved in this sport, you've got to have that strong family support mechanism. And that's what Andy's to me represents. I mean, it's a place to go, whether you're a kid, an adult, to go enjoy life, be a kid for a while, and just get back to what makes life fun. And that's what's cool about Andy's and the relationship that we're going to be able to establish here.
That's awesome, man. And it goes right to one of the things that sometimes folks don't pick up on. Mind you, I'm on a far, far way down the line level compared to where you're at. But with our sponsorships that we pick up, people don't understand that, this is not about a monetary piece here. We're putting our name. And as you said, our families know other families and we know other people. I don't want to be no amount of money is equated to having a bad rep of, so no, it's, you want to feel proud of these organizations. And so that's so cool to have those roots like you have with that.
Yeah.
Let's talk, on some of the other, how long have you been with Ranger Boats?
Well, the Ranger thing has been an acquisition deal through other company buyouts, but I've never left the boat group that I have been involved with. I spent a lot of my career in the Stratus Champion brand,
right?
But when it was acquired by White River Marine and they chose to go a different direction, it's really cool for me because I started my career in a Ranger. The first new bass boat I ever owned was a 1988 374V Ranger.
Nice.
So for me to now go full circle and be back in a Ranger, working with some of the same people that I worked with back in 1988, it's been a great just full circle deal. And again, that brings back that family tie to the thing. It's amazing how tight knit the boat industry really is. And to be working with the same people that I've had the opportunity to work with for so long in such a long-term relationship is a great scenario. The new Rangers this year, I just picked up my new 520R a couple weeks ago. I've had it on the water for 4 or 5 hours. Well, running time for 4 or 5 hours, but I've spent, 2 or 3 full days in it. The advancements that Ranger has made this year in the new 520R is incredible. I mean, they have taken myself, Skeet Reese, a number of other Ranger pros were at Product Knowledge a few years ago. And we had a little, roundtable discussion about what do you guys want to see in the next generation of boats? And, a year later, we're calling, asking where the new boat is. And a couple years later, and they're like, guys, this takes time. And it's 2.5, 3 years later now. And the new 520R addressed every concern that we as anglers brought to the table. I mean, when we talk change, they brought it with this new 520R. And everything from the running platform, the way the boat performs on the water, to the creature features in the boat. The storages, the cooler, net storage, live well system, battery boxes, everything was addressed. And I've never been in a boat that I'm prouder to be in than the one I'm in right now.
That's awesome. In that, it speaks when people can hear this firsthand. This is in the world of social media, of course, everybody's got opinions and they make the most outlandish statements thinking that they have this anonymity piece. And unfortunately, there are still groups of folks out there that take that opinion as fact without actually doing any kind of real research. So it's awesome to hear, someone like you that is as real as it gets, shed light in these areas. Johnny, any major, highly successful individual will be polarizing to some folks. We know that. That's not specific to just Johnny Morris or Bass Pro Shops. But when they, acquired Ranger and Triton and so forth, of course, there was now you're going to, cheapen this up, cheapen that up. If they just took a minute, in my personal opinion, did the research on how, this company was formed, where it came from, the innovation they've done. And so to hear that Ranger's still rocking Ranger, I've always referred to you guys as, you're the Cadillac on the water out there. There's no doubt about it. It's the most recognizable name out there, whether people are into fishing or not, they know Ranger boats, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Without a doubt. And, there's so many features and that's a segment that I'm going to get into a little bit as the season progresses, just to go through the new 520R and talk about all of the details. This boat, just everything about it, the fit and finish. The seats are fully fiberglass cases now with cushions in them. So everything has advanced to the next level. And when you talk about Johnny Morrison, it's not like Johnny doesn't have the background. Johnny once was out here competing, on the circuit. So
exactly,
Johnny knows what people want when it comes to bass boats. And to me, the acquisition of Ranger and the other companies that Johnny controls now has basically made his technology across the board stronger than any other boat group out there. Johnny has the best of the best in all of the boat brands now. And it's just what level and what price range you want to be in. White River Marine has the boat to fit any angler's needs.
I couldn't agree more. As a fellow White River, we've run the Nitro Z21 and I have been Absolutely, extremely pleased with that boat for the last couple of years. One other one that you and I had a chance to talk with, in an effort for full disclosure, I have met Mike previously. A couple of years ago, there was what they called a super tournament where they invited some of the Bass Pro Tour guys to come fish one of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit events. And I had the opportunity to enter that as a marshal. Well, Mike was my day two boater that I drew, so I had a chance to spend the day with him out there and kind of watch this guy go to work. And one of the things, Mike, that I remember coming back from that thing that was first, you and Josh Bertrand converted me out of a unmentioned name of electronics. I am now Garmin through and through. And I'll tell you what,
wasn't hard to do though, was it?
Oh my goodness, no, because I was not very pleased with the one season into those other ones. I just Garmin not only addressed all my issues, but then has just gone even beyond that. That's a different pitch. But Motor Guide, you've been with Motor Guide now for some time, and you're still with Motor Guide. And I mean, I'm not making. I don't have sales figures, but not for nothing, the press is on the Ghost. It's on the Force. It's on, the Ultrex is even losing ground now because of that Ghost and Force, man. They've put a hurt, but now Motor Guide's resurgence on that tour, level, that thing it's got traction, man. It's got teeth, and it's coming about in the sales side.
It definitely does. And the thing about Motor Guide that I think they've done that some of the other companies didn't do is they've just taken a little bit more time in making sure that the Motor Guide Tour Pro is where they want it to be. Motor Guide, when it comes to trolling motors, I mean, it's just synonymous with the name because, I mean, everybody that's fished knows Motor Guide trolling motors, and Motor Guide still builds the Tour Edition, which is just your standard cable steer motor, as well as the X5s and a variety of different motors that are highly used in other areas. But when this whole new market came with, the spot lock technology and the anchor modes and all of these different things, Motor Guide is just taking their time. And now with the acquisition of Navco, Motor Guide and Ghost to a degree are going to be working hand in hand. So I really believe in the future, you're even going to see greater advancements from that particular standpoint. And again, it goes back to those relationships. I'm working with some of the same people with Motor Guide, not necessarily that we're with Motor Guide, but we're with other companies throughout the industry for the last 20 plus years. So, I mean, I've had
the Brunswick family, right?
Yeah. To maintain those tight knit relationships, and the communication is so much better. I mean, when you have stayed and stuck with one company throughout your career, when you talk, people tend to listen a little bit. It's like, well, this guy isn't coming from another company telling us that we need to do this or that. He's telling us from his experiences, with our product and what he's seen other companies do. So it's really a great opportunity for me to be involved with Motor Guide for the years that I've never run another trolling motor. I mean, throughout my whole career, I've been Motor Guide, throughout everything. So, they've come a long ways, and there's a lot of opportunities I think that we're going to see even with more advancements now with the acquisition of Navco.
That's exciting. I've had a chance to explore into them. We're going to be expanding from the big boat world, joining into the kayak world of tournament fishing this year.
You told me that the other day.
Yeah. We're waiting to make the official announcement once I get a chance to see the paperwork. We put together just right. But yes, it's with one of the bigger companies for sure. We are beside ourselves for this opportunity. But the lead into that is in that Motor Guide has a specific line of trolling motors for the kayaks. It's a much more compact design. They've got the 12-volt systems to make it easy because not for nothing, I've got a 36-volt. I got 4 batteries in the back of my Nitro. I don't have that kind of space in the back of the kayak that I'm going to be running. So running a good solid lithium of some kind back there in a 12-volt series, I'm going to be needing it to handle, lots of work back there. But the Motor Guide XI3 and I think even the XI5, both of those have just some really, really interesting things. And they're in the price points, I got to tell you, are phenomenal.
Yeah.
compared to what I'm used to. I will say that, man, on the kayak side of things, it's man, their cost of ownership sure is a fraction of what it is for us right now.
It definitely is. And it's definitely a growing market. I know through the shows that I've had the opportunity to work the last few years, the kayak presence and what is going on in that industry is incredible. In fact, one of the camera guys for the Bass Pro Tour MLF events is highly involved in one of the kayak circuits. So
Nice.
every time he's in my boat as my camera guy, I get to hear about the kayak world and the events that are going on. And it's pretty amazing how somebody can get involved, compete on a tournament level, that we're used to competing on, and compete for some pretty good money for, like you said, a fraction of the cost that it takes to be, fishing at the level that you and I are used to fishing at.
And so this brings me to the $1 million question. We didn't talk about this beforehand, and you may not know the answer to this, but MLF kayak division, baby, where is it coming? Is it in the talks? Have you heard it next to the water cooler?
I can honestly say I have not heard mention of it.
Okay.
But, with the involvement of some of the guys that are cameramen, I'm sure it's been bounced around off of some of the upper management head. I think we've got a lot on our plate right now with Major League Fishing. I'm not going to say never.
Right.
I mean, when you think about the weekend series, the Toyota series, the pro circuit, I mean, we've got a full plate of things to run right now. And maybe we leave the kayaks to somebody else. I don't know. I'm not making those decisions, but there's a lot of room for growth. You never know.
Well, if they're hearing us out there, you know what? The thing to me that made so much sense is at the highest level, we are catch, weigh, release.
Mm-hmm.
The kayak is that catch, photo, release.
Yeah.
It is a difference. It's a measurement in length, not weight. But man, it's the conservation piece gets represented so well with that stuff. We're excited to get our feet wet this year. Hopefully my feet don't get too wet.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, being a not a small guy really changes the type of kayak I'm interested in, man. I'll tell you that.
You're wanting the Cadillac of kayaks.
I need the Ranger kayak. Some people, Mike. Let's see what we can do here.
So.
Well, that's awesome, man. And this, it kind of brings around to another section here that we talk about quite a bit on the veteran support side. And you guys, you have it, man. I've seen it firsthand. I had the honor to meet your better half there at that title event there that we were at.
She's definitely my better half. I will admit that.
We got it right when we outkick our coverage, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I did a great job on that one.
I'm right there with you, man. But that support system, it's so critical in the veteran support and first responder support. The nonprofits have taught me that, the entire family serves, and we're talking military or first responder. And to get, the support level they need, it's so important that these nonprofits provide it to the families as well, and give them these options. And I always tell them, and you can speak about this, to a higher degree, in competitive fishing, regardless of the level, even at the weekend, angler at the BFL level, it is absolutely paramount and critical as well, is that you have that support structure. If your mind is thinking, man, my wife, my husband, would rather have me home, doesn't like me being out here, you're done. You might as well just pack her up, put her on the trailer and go home.
Yeah.
You've got to know that things are you have an amazing, from how you guys travel. I know that Mr. Worldwide was a benefactor there for a couple seasons of you guys. Talk to us about your still doing that. Nice. I'm glad to see him out of that school bus or whatever it was that he had. But talk about that. I mean, the support structure from family, how important that is.
It really is a big deal. And it does for sure start first and foremost with, the ones that are on the road with us, and that being, my spouse, my wife, Stacy. And, since the boys graduated high school, the last one was out, we made that decision that she was going to travel with me full time. We bought a fifth wheel RV that I pull when we travel to the event. She pulls the boat with the Toyota Tundra. And once we get on site, it's like home. And, she runs the RV, the fifth wheel, just like we do our household. And just having everything in your own space is so incredible, not worrying about what the hotel is going to be like or the resort that you're checking into, knowing that you're sleeping in your own bed at night is a big deal. But, the supports that she offers. And I think if I remember correctly, the day you and I drew out, when we got to the launch ramp, you were all about wanting to put me in and, launch me and all that. And I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. Just get in the boat. My wife's going to take care of it, and,
Yep.
and, I like to brag on her because I feel like she can back a boat and trailer as well as a lot of, anglers out here that have been doing it for some time. And, you're like, well, this is the life. You just jump in the boat, she launches you and off you go, and that's part of it, being able to just, maximize the time that we have on the water. I mean, typically when I practice, unless I'm driving a long ways from where I'm going to actually be camping, a lot of times, she puts me in the morning, dumps me off. I don't have to worry about parking the vehicle. I know I'm spoiled, but it makes me maximize the time I have on the water to work. And, you come in the evenings and that's when you get to develop that support system among the other people you travel with. I mean, we travel with a great group of anglers, myself, Brett Height, David Walker. You mentioned James Watson Worldwide, David Walker, Rusty Selesky, the winner of the title event a couple years ago. And just the support level that we give each other, it's the camaraderie. Yeah, we're in fierce competition and we want to beat that guy the next day on the water. But if you come in the evening and you've got a boat problem or something's going on that somebody can help with, we're always here to help each other. So that's a big part of it. But then you go into the family support from home. I mean, I have had the support from my parents and my entire family throughout my career. When I first told them I wanted to be a professional angler and skip going to college, they were all kind of, are you sure? But I mean, once I made that decision, they have supported me from day one. And without that family support, the reason I'm probably fishing at the level I am today was my dad makes a product called Pro Locker. It's a long rod carrying case. It basically looks like a big soft-sided gun case. Okay. So if anybody's looking for a great way to carry rods, go to prolockeroutdoors.com. It's great when you travel, but it's prolockeroutdoors.com. And we went to the Classic in Greensboro, North Carolina. I believe it was in 1984 or 85. I can't remember if Mark Davis or Denny Brower won that particular one, but it opened my eyes up to the fact that tournament fishing was truly as big as it was. I mean, I was, 16, 17 years old. I was already fishing, but I really didn't realize what it was all about.
Right.
And after that Classic, that's when, the real work started for me. And I made a decision then that I wanted to figure out a way to get there. Now, it took me a while to get there. I mean, it was into the late 90s before I really ever got to compete in my first full year of an open, invitational field or something like that. Right. But it definitely opened the door. So that family support that I've had from day one has been critical. And like you said, when you start talking about the first responders and the ones that serve our country, I mean, they've got to have the same kind of family support we do. When you're 100%. Away from your family, you've got to have that support mechanism to keep you going.
From day to day, I just wanted to comment, probably, when you go to your family, especially when you're young and you're like, I'm going to do this pro fishing, it's got to be the same thing as saying I'm joining a band.
It's a lot different now than it was 20 years ago. Professional fishing has made the corner. We've got high school programs and college teams now where when I made the decision to do it, it was just kind of it was just something that some people did for a hobby. But, to say that in today's time is a little different than it was 20 or 25, or it may have even been 30 years ago that I made that commitment that that's what I wanted to do.
Right. And there's still areas that I can tell you, I go around and I talk to people and I tell them, they ask what I do. I'm like, I competitively fish. And in their mind, I've talked to these guys after the fact. In their mind, the first thing they do is they envision me sitting there with a bobber.
Exactly.
They're like, how is that competitive? Like, no. That's passive and active fishing. Very, very different worlds.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think the one thing I'll say there, if anybody will just take the time to watch, a Major League Fishing event on TV, they're going to realize real quick that this is truly a sport. I mean, we go from daylight till dark in most cases. Now on tournament days, we have structured hours, but that's another thing I love about Major League Fishing is the breaks we get, because when you fish for 2.5 hours, it's nice to be able to sit down off the clock and know that nobody else is catching one. So, it is a grind. It is a grind.
And it's some of the best, when the weights are tight out there, it's some of the best for me. It's some of the best TV, in sports coverage piece there, just watching that. And I love the production piece that MLF does with a lot of those, how they kind of build up to those areas. One of the other keys on this, and I was mentioning this, we were laughing a little bit about it, but it's the truth. You're in phenomenal health. I was saying, I was watching you, up on deck there, man, you got the sharp calves going there. I'm like, wow, that's obviously, you get your walks and you do this. One of the segments that I covered previously is about that angler health, mental and physical, the importance of it, even for the weekend guy. Things we can do. And one of the big pieces is that nutrition thing, man. It's how big of a role. And I apologize up front if I'm breaking any unwritten rules here, but that lunch that your wife made for you in the boat, I'm like, now that's the deal. I'm over here with like a gas station burrito that's still frozen, But
that is, to me, that's critical. I mean, nutrition, you got to keep your mind sharp. And I mean, I don't understand how some of these anglers compete the hours that we compete without putting nutrition in their bodies. I mean, I get up every morning to eat an egg, some bacon, sausage, biscuit, whatever. I've got to keep that fuel going. And maybe my metabolism just still runs at a fairly high level, but I also work out. I mean, when the season ends, especially, I mean, we do a lot of walking in the campgrounds while we're on site during the tournament year, but when the tournament season ends is when I start conditioning for the next season. I don't go home and take a break. Right. I'm back on the treadmill, back doing what I need to be to condition for the next year. I don't lift weights, but I do a lot of band exercises, stretching. But you have to keep yourself physically fit and mentally fit to be a competitor. And, I think that goes back to what you were talking about with first responders and those that serve in the military. I mean, you've got to be sharp all the time to be able to do those roles and those jobs.
And there's that direct connection from nutrition to mental health. And that's where it also blends into the veteran support service side piece, is talking about that, helping keep clear focus, clear decision-making, being able to handle a lot of different things all at once without letting it really, overcloud on that.
Yeah, and now, I've got to spend that time so I can eat a few more Andy's frozen custards this year.
Exactly. More band work, more custards in there. Mm-hmm. Well, I got to tell you now, when I go on March 12th, when we head to Osage Beach there and we're hitting our first event of the year, I've got to stop by Andy's. Now, I don't care if it's, freezing outside or not. We're getting a frozen custard there, and we're going to tell them Mike sent us.
There you go. There you go.
So as we, have talked about a little bit on that veteran piece there, the U.S. Open that Bass Pro Shops put on, huge, massive event, just a ton of dedication pieces throughout this whole thing. I think we were talking, there was, possibly boats given away on this. I apologize. This is on me for not getting some of the research done prior to this. But we know that Bass Pro Shops, Johnny Morris, White River Marine, all of the conglomerates there, that are in this group, the support they give for our U.S. military, their families, Gold Star families, first responders. You've had an opportunity to partake, on some level as an angler to pass on like we have, to just share our passion with these. What was that experience like for you when you got a chance to do that?
It was just an incredible experience as a whole. I've had a couple different opportunities. The first event I was involved in was actually at Grand Lake. It was a Wounded Warriors event where they brought in, wounded warriors from past services, and to spend the day in a boat with a guy that has served my country to allow me the freedoms to chase little brown and green fish around and make a living doing it. I mean, it's humbling. It's overwhelming to know the sacrifices these people have made to give us that opportunity. And, you almost get so caught up in just listening to their stories and what they've been through and what friends of theirs have been through and the loss of friendships and, lives have done. And it just really humbles you. And it's something that I definitely want to be more involved with as maybe I slow down a little bit in my career. Had the opportunity at the US Open, as you were mentioning. Johnny did a contest. He did 2 separate contests. He did one where he gave, I believe it was 11 boats to, kids under a certain age that sent videos in basically saying why they deserve to be a winner of one of these Bass Tracker boats. And he also did it for military people. And 2 of the guys that won the boats, I got to meet both of them there at the US Open, have served our country. They got boats and got to compete in a head-to-head competition against one another.
Nice.
And the intensity level, I mean, we didn't get to talk stories much that day because, this guy was, as intense as I have ever seen a competitor about this head-to-head competition. And, at the end of the day, they basically have congratulated one another for winning the boats. But then the guy that actually won the head-to-head event said, I'm sharing, the purse with you because, we did this together. And so it was a cool deal as a whole. But, I believe both of the veterans that were there were Purple Heart recipients. And, for Johnny to do what he does with, not just what he did with that, but the whole US Open as a whole was a great deal to see for the whole industry.
I couldn't agree more. And it's one of the things that we in some of our other podcasts and anytime people talk with me about it, I always tell them, we're not here for the politics, and I'm not here to bash on the VA or anything else. But the fact of the matter is that our veterans, their families, the first responders, their families, they don't get enough support. They don't get what, at least at the minimum of what they would deserve. And, that's why we do what we do. I had an opportunity at the Warrior Bonfire in Vienna, Missouri there to spend some time with them. And I can tell you it changed everything for us. And it's why we are here now. And
just listening to you talk about that a little bit, that is definitely an event that as time goes on, if my schedule allows, I'd sure like to visit with you more about that and maybe get involved in that deal. That sounds like a neat deal.
That would be amazing. We have emails. I'll keep you in the loop just as an FYI about schedule, where it's going to be, when it's going to be. And yes, I totally understand, man. You have a lot of commitments out there, but yes, if the schedule's ever worked out, number one, I'd love to get a chance to spend a few more days with you out there and chat and introduce my wife to your wife.
That would be awesome.
See if we can talk about this bacon and eggs thing first thing in the morning there. Listen, Mike, I can't thank you enough for taking the time here. For us, as we're young, we're coming up, we're trying to cut a name for ourselves out there. The whole purpose resides around, a broader reach for us to be able to give these nonprofits a stage where people just learn about them, learn about what they're doing. That's who we're trying to direct people to. And so to have, a guy like you come on board, our little deal here like this, I'll never be able to express to you how grateful we are and how much it means to myself. And I know the rest of the nonprofits that we're working with here, man. Thank you so very much.
It's been great to be here, and it's been fun to be here, man. We've cut up, we've had fun, we've talked through a lot of different scenarios, and I'm here to help. If you want some names of some other guys that could come join you on the podcast, I'll definitely be happy to share those with you as well.
Let's talk afterwards, because we absolutely would. I always tell the guys on the assisted trips that we take, with the heroes we take out, one of two things is going to happen. I can't guarantee we're going to catch fish, on these Colorado waters, but you're either going to laugh with me or at me, one of the two. Well, thank you again, Mike. We sincerely appreciate it, and best of luck. We're going to be following you. We'll probably share some results and pieces. And anytime you want to, reach out to us there, if you have some cool news or whatever we can help with, please let us know.
Definitely will, Gene. Good to talk to you.
Colorado,